Okay, can you all hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, we can.
Pastor, you're there? Vidya,
Yeah.
can you call Pastor and ask him to allow me to share PPT?
Share screen. Okay.
I just heard, Pastor. I'm just allowing you to share screen.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Open your laptop. Yes.
Just check. Multiple participants.
I can.
You can now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So मेरा speaker नहीं चलता, so I can't hear sometimes. Okay.
We'll start, or should we wait for any more to join? Someone can message in the group that class I just started. Or let me try messaging. Vidya, you can message in the Bible college group. Okay, let's start our class. If you can see, you all can see the PPT. Okay. So last Friday, we discussed about the first two segment of Moses' life. I think, no, last Friday, we discussed the second segment of Moses' life. The first one was as a prince in Egypt. And then the second segment, we learned about him. For the 40 years, he was in solitude. First 40 years in solitude, as in he was just tending the sheep, doing nothing. He's just over there for 40 years. But then in these 40 years of solitude, 40 years in the desert of Midian as a shepherd, God was teaching him something, an important lesson. But even after 40 years, he seems to not understand or learn certain things. All right. So, okay. Now, just to go a little bit of what we have learned about Moses. Moses was mighty in his word and in his deed, and he was learned in the wisdom of Egyptian knowledge and wisdom. And we've seen that he acquired everything that he needs to acquire according to the Egyptians. Then one fine day he comes out, and then he thought that his brothers, his people will understand that God is going to give salvation, or God is going to redeem Israel through him. But his brothers did not understand him. So what we see is that he killed an Egyptian who was beating an Israelite. And the next following day, he goes again out and he sees two Hebrews fighting among themselves. And then he tries to rebuke them, rebuke the person who is in wrong. But then what he finds out is that the murder that he committed is known to the people. It is no more a secret. So he runs away from Egypt. He runs away from Egypt, and while he goes to Midian, and there he marries. Over there, after 40 years, God calls him. God calls him from a bush, and then he talks to him. But during that time, what we have seen is in God's calling, when God called him and told him that I want you to go to Egypt and bring the people back. I have heard their cry, and I'm going to rescue them through you. But then this time, what happens is that he starts giving reasons. Lord, if I go there, what will I speak to them? Why will they listen to me? I am nobody. At one point of time, I was about to be the prince of Egypt. At that time, I had some identity. But today, I am nobody. Why would they give any hearing to what I have to say? And even if I go there, what will I speak? At one time, I was eloquent in my speech, but today I can't speak. I've become dumb in these 40 years. At one point of time, I had authority, but today I'm nobody. I don't have any authority. And then at one point of time, I was successful. I think I had better chance to redeem Israel then than now. That's what he was trying to tell God. that at one point of time, you should have used me, God, then, not now. Today I'm nobody. I have nothing. And God was saying to Moses that now is the right time. Since you have realized that you are nobody, now I can use you. So that's what God was trying to teach Moses, that the skill set that you are thinking important to redeem Israel, I don't need that skill set. I think there was okay. It's back now. So far we have seen about Moses, the two segments of Moses's life. This is the third segment. Now he goes to Egypt to redeem the people, and from there we see a couple of tests. When he goes to speak to Pharaoh, Pharaoh tries his every bit to make Moses compromise at one or the other thing. For example, there were various tests. When we go to Exodus chapter 8, Exodus chapter 8, verse 23 to 25, let's read. Exodus chapter 8, verse 23 to 25. What we read is, thus I will put a division between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall happen. And the Lord did so. There came, I think it's Exodus 8. Hmm. Just now, this is the suggestion that Pharaoh gives to Moses. from verse 24, and the Lord did so. There came great swarms of flies into the house of Pharaoh and into his servants' houses. Throughout all the land of Egypt, the land was ruined by the swarms of flies. Verse 25, and then Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron and said, go sacrifice to your God within the land. Means you wanted to actually take your people, right? You wanted to worship the Lord your God. Okay, granted. But you should not go out of Egypt. Within the land, you are going to worship. So this is how we hear people saying in modern world that, okay, don't neglect religion, but there is no need to be narrow-minded and make a complete break with the world. Means what Pharaoh is saying is that you worship your God, but be in Egypt. It's like saying that, okay, you can be a believer, but at the same time, you need to be in the world and enjoy the world also. So this is how the suggestion looks. Pharaoh is basically saying, telling Moses that you worship the Lord your God, it's fine, but you don't have to go out of Egypt. Stay within Egypt. So that's the kind of suggestion that people often make. They say that you be a believer, you go Sunday church, that's very good. You do all what you want to do, but enjoy the world also. You don't have to. You don't have to neglect the world. You can enjoy. That's the kind of suggestion the world gives. But Moses says, no, I will not. Everybody will move from here. I'll just make the PPT available. Okay. This is the first test, the test to compromise. The first test that came from Pharaoh to Moses was a test of compromise that, okay, you worship the Lord your God, and yeah, you want to worship, you can worship, but be in Egypt. But Moses did not compromise. Moses did not compromise. But Moses said, it would not be right to do so, for the offerings we shall sacrifice to the Lord our God are an abomination to the Egyptians. If we sacrifice offerings abominable to the Egyptians before their eyes, will they not stone us? We must go 3 days journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he tells us. We are going to worship the Lord God the way he wants us. I'm not going to listen to your suggestions. That's what Moses is telling. Now, when there is a possibility of bargaining as in, Pharaoh is very hard, very stubborn, and he is not letting people go. And finally, he agreed for the people of Israel to worship. So why don't we take the deal? That could be a temptation of a leader. That could be a temptation of a believer, but Moses didn't compromise. That's the thing about Moses. He said, as he says, we should go, we should do the journey. We should make that journey 3 days into the wilderness, and there we are going to worship. That's how he wants us, and that's how we are going to do it. We will not listen to what you're saying. Now, Moses didn't say, oh, wow, this is a very good deal. He didn't say that, or he didn't compromise with Pharaoh. So that's the test of compromise. Next, he suggested, when we look at verse 28, so Pharaoh said, I will let you go to sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness. Now, he's agreeing. Pharaoh is agreeing that, okay, you want to go into the wilderness and sacrifice? I'll allow it. Only you must not go very far. I will let you go to sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness. Only you must not go very far away. Now plead for me. The second suggestion, he says that if you must go out of Egypt to worship, don't go very far away. So sometimes people might say, religion is good, but you are not called to be fanatical about it. That is, don't go too far in your religion. Don't go too far in your belief. Thoda theek hai, means little bit is fine. Go a little bit, but that's fine. You don't have to go too far into your religion, too far into your faith. Then, but Moses didn't listen. Moses didn't listen. Then Moses said, behold, I am going out from you, and I will plead with the Lord that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants and from his people tomorrow. Only let not Pharaoh cheat again by not letting the people go to sacrifice. So he goes, but Pharaoh cheats again. So Moses went out from Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord did as Moses asked and removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. Not one remained. But look at verse 32 in chapter 8. But Pharaoh hardened his heart this time also and did not let the people go. Now, what happens as we move forward? There was a test of natural affection. In Exodus chapter 10, verse 11, when we go to chapter 10, verse 11, we read, Pharaoh says, no, go, the men among you, and serve the Lord, for this is what you are asking. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. Chapter 10, verse 10 and 11. But he said to them, the Lord be with you if ever I let you and your little ones go. Look, you have some evil purpose in mind. No, go the men among you and serve the Lord. For that is what you are asking. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. Let's read from verse 9. Verse 8. So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, and he said to them, go serve the Lord your God, but which ones are to go? Moses said, we will go with our young and our old. We will go with our sons and daughters, with our flocks and herds, for we must hold a feast to the Lord. But he said to them, the Lord be with you if ever I let you and your little ones go. Look, you have some evil purpose in mind. No, go the men among you and serve the Lord, for that is what you are asking. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. Now, what is he saying? If you want to go, go, but only men will go. the children and the flock, everybody will remain here. There is again a test for compromise. So in a way, people, you will hear people saying, go if you must, but don't be so extreme that you interfere with the worldly advancement of your family by making them conform to your outmoded standards. Now, sometimes people say that we are making our children, or we are rubbing our faith onto our children. So that's what Pharaoh is basically saying, that, okay, you elders, men, you want to follow the religion, okay, but why you are forcing your children and women? Don't let them stay back. Only men can go out worship, because Pharaoh knows that if men are going, they will come back for their flock, they will come back for their wives and children. So he knows that trick. He's trying to play. He's trying to get them to agree to some deal. But then Moses wouldn't compromise. Moses wouldn't listen. So his last attempt in Exodus chapter 10, in verse 24, he says, then Pharaoh called Moses and said, go serve the Lord. Your little ones also may go with you. Now listen to this. Only let your flocks and your herds remain behind. Now look at this very shrewd person, very cunning Pharaoh. He says, okay, you go, you take your children, you take your people and go worship, but your flock will not go with you. Your herds will not go with you. Means he's trying to somehow bring them back to Egypt. And Moses very clearly says in Exodus chapter 10, verse 26, listen to this. Our livestock also must go with us, not a hoof shall left behind. Not a hoof shall left behind. We are taking everything and going from here. And that's what. So you see, Moses never compromised at any deal. He never compromised. Even he's saying, not a hoof of a flock will remain here. Everything is going to come out and serve the Lord. That's the commitment. I'll tell you what. Moses initially was hesitant to go to Israel. When the first attempt that they go and speak to Pharaoh, it goes very bad. The communication doesn't go well. Instead, what happens was Pharaoh increases the amount of bricks, and he wouldn't provide the hay to make the bricks. So Moses goes and complains to the Lord. What is this? I heard you. You told me to go and speak. I have spoken. Now see, the Israelites are cursing me. Because of me, the workload increased. Why did you do this? If at all you didn't want to redeem people, why have you led me here? Complaining. Right from the beginning, he was hesitant. He was not willing to come. But then something happened. When he started seeing the power of God, when he started looking at those plagues one after the other, he started understanding the Lord better. He started understanding, and with every plague, he could think about the Lord, what he is capable of. Because Moses in his life, he didn't experience the Lord until the burning bush. Even at the burning bush, he thought Lord is going to do something, but then when the first conversation backfired, again his faith level went down. But with every plague, as he experienced the Lord God, his faith was increasing and increasing and increasing, and he would come to know the living God, and he wouldn't compromise with Pharaoh. As we grow in our lives, as we grow spiritually in our communion with the Lord, in our devotion with the Lord, and as we experience the Lord in our day-to-day lives, our faith increases, and we wouldn't compromise with the world or the temptations in the world. So his reply, Moses' reply, was clear-cut and decisive. There shall not a hoof be left behind. So with clear spiritual insight, Moses saw through each challenge. He saw through each challenge to leave their flocks and herds behind, would leave them with empty hands. So he understood the cunningness of Pharaoh. Now there was another test, the test of impossible situation. That is the test of faced as they reached the Red Sea. In front, there is Red Sea, and behind Pharaoh's army. So on the one side lay the impassable range of Baal Zephon, on the other an impassable waste of sand. Before them lay the impassable Red Sea, means on the right, on the left, you cannot cross over that sand. Front, there is Red Sea, behind Pharaoh's army. So they were in a perfect dead end. Perfect dead end. Like there is no way that they can escape. No unusual experience to one who has chosen to go all lengths with God. Means they are at a point where there is no point of escape. That's the perfect dead end. At this point, when we read Exodus chapter 14, verse 11, people, chapter 14, verse 11, it says, they said to Moses, is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone, that we may serve Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. You know, like when we face problems, we think we were better off on the other side. But when challenges come in our lives, actually the purpose of challenge is to increase our faith, increase our spiritual degree or level where we can grow with the Lord. That's the purpose. But instead of understanding the purpose of God and trusting in the Lord, that God who delivered with so many plagues in Egypt, can't he lead us? Can't he deliver us even in this situation? Instead of these people believing in the Lord, they were murmuring, they were complaining. So they were complaining to the Lord. But Moses had a message, and he has now. The Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward, lift up your staff, and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel may go through the sea on the dry ground. But before that, something happens. In verse 13, Moses says, and Moses said to the people, fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. That's the thing. You know, Moses learned this lesson now. You know, people, this is what maybe Moses was saying. At one point of time, I was strong, I was mighty, I was eloquent in my speech, I had authority, I had dignity, I had fame and name and everything. And that is the time where I thought, I can redeem Israel. And God is going to redeem Israel through me. That's what I thought. But in 40 years of wilderness in the Midian, this is what I learned. Even now, I learned this, that I should be silent, because all the glory goes to Him. And I am to be silent and see the salvation of the Lord. That's what I learned. And I'm telling you, be silent and see the salvation of the Lord. So he's saying, hey, be silent. I'm going to show you how I will deliver you from these people. Moses didn't say this. At one point of time, he was trying to say the same thing. Hey, Israelites, don't be afraid. Just see how I'm going to deliver you people from this Egypt. At one point of time, he had that kind of an attitude. But now he is directing what he himself learned in his life. He is teaching the Israelites that, hey, listen, you are to remain silent and see the salvation of the Lord. It is He, and it is He who is going to deliver you out of this. And that's what we see in the lives of Israelites at this point. God separates the Red Sea, parts it, and Israelites walked on the dry land. Israelites walked on the dry land. Moses passed the test of the impossible situation with flying colors and was gloriously vindicated by the intervention of God. Now you see, we are looking at the great lives. We are looking at the great lives and learning from their lives. This is what we learn from the life of Moses. At one point of time, he was so self-reliant. At one point of time, he was trusting in his own skill set as in eloquence in many things. And he thought God is going to deliver Israel through his skill, through him. But then he had to wait 40 years. And he learned his lesson. As God was dealing with Egyptians and with those plagues, Moses too was learning many things. Moses was learning, what an idiot I am. I thought I am going to deliver Israel, but it is Lord who is going to do it. I thought it is my wisdom, my knowledge, but it is all Lord. So Moses grew in reverence to the Lord, in respect to the Lord, in godliness, in God's fear. He grew, he started understanding the Lord. And he was passing every test. Nowhere he compromised with Pharaoh. That's amazing. Now, when we move forward, there was a test of ambition. In Exodus chapter 32, verse 10, there's something interesting that we read. Exodus chapter 32, verse 10. It says, now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation. So God's anger kindled against the Israelites. God's holy anger was kindled against Israel when they turned to idolatry while Moses was on Mount Sinai. Now that's where we see another test, how Moses would react. How Moses would react to this test. Now, therefore, let me alone, God said to Moses, that my wrath wax hot against them, that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation. Moses, I'm going to recreate everything. I'm going to wipe them off. Already their unbelief and complaining must have proved a sore trial to Moses. Moses, throughout this journey, he must have grown tired of Israelites, that no matter what God was doing, these people are complaining, murmuring. Now they turn to idolatry. So there was every bit of reason for Moses to give up, but he didn't. And now God was suggesting a way out. Hey Moses, listen, how long you're going to go with these people? I'm going to wipe them off, and I'm going to create a new nation for you. And this nation will be, that's the one, you see. In verse 10, God says, now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against thee, and them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation of you. That's interesting. These Israelites, they came out from every place, but this nation, the nation that I am going to recreate, that will be from you, Moses. Now that's an amazing opportunity to get rid of all the Israelites, and now a nation is going to come out of me. Wow. But then Moses didn't yield to this temptation. But Moses says the test was the more searching, since it was God who initiated the suggestion. Moses could have said, "Acha, theek hai, aapne bola hai to aap kar do. I am not to be blamed. Ye aap hi ka suggestion tha." So Moses could have said that. But this is where we see, never was Moses' selflessness and nobility of character more clearly seen than in his reaction. His concern was solely for the glory of God and the welfare of his people. Now, this is what he says, you see. But Moses implored the Lord his God and said, O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your anger and relent from this disaster against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have promised, I will give to your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever. So you see, there was a great opportunity. But Moses says, no, I don't want this. But what I'm more concerned about is your glory. I don't want, Lord, someone to talk about you. See, their God was so crafty that he took them in between the mountains and he killed them. What will happen to your glory? So I don't want this. Please don't do this. Remember your promises. So even here, though there was a promise here, there was something God was telling, that I will make a nation out of you. This nation will be out of you. That's amazing for a person like Moses. But Moses was more concerned about God's glory. What people are going to say, Lord? What people will say? No, please don't do this. And then every test Moses was clearing with flying colors. Every test that we see, Moses was passing every test. There was tests, multiple tests for compromise. He was tested, but he succeeded in all those tests. Then we see in Numbers chapter 11, verse 28, there was a test of jealousy. What do we see over there? Eldad and Medad do prophesy in camp, said the irate Joshua. Joshua came to Moses and said, listen, these two people are prophesying in over there. My Lord Moses, forbid them, stop them. Two of the men Moses had appointed to assist him had broken out into prophecy. His followers were jealous for him at this apparent usurping of his prerogatives and challenge to his prestige. Now they came, Joshua and other guy. Joshua was so zealous, and we will be looking at Joshua and see if we can do that in the next class. He came and complained to Moses, hey, listen, what it's something about your prestige. These people are prophesying. Who will follow you? They might take your crowd, they might take your church. But Moses says, now this is what Moses says in Numbers 11, Numbers 11, verse 28. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the assistant of Moses from his youth, said, my Lord Moses, stop them. But Moses said to him, are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, that the Lord would put his spirit on them. And Moses and the elders of Israel returned to the camp. So why are you jealous, Joshua? I want all the people of God to be prophets. Prophets as in consumed for the glory of God. If they are being blessed by some spiritual gift, why are you jealous? Let them, and I want all of them to have this gift. That sounds like Paul saying in the New Testament, I'm so glad that you Corinthians are blessed with gifts. I'm so happy. And he also says, desire the best gifts. But then what we see in the life of Moses is that he was never jealous that someone is prophesying, someone is doing a spiritual act. A true leader always looks forward that his disciples may grow and even be blessed more than what God has accomplished through him. That's the attitude of a true leader. Now, Moses was never jealous of anything. So this is the life of Moses and how he succeeded in his journey, in his tests, and in his walk with the Lord. We'll just take a 5 minutes break and then we'll look at Joshua. Just 5 minutes break. Okay. Okay, for Joshua, I didn't make a PPT, but I have notes. What I'm going to do is I'll share with you the PPT notes on Moses in the group, as well as notes on Joshua's life. Okay. So quickly we'll look at Joshua's life. Who was Joshua? We know that Joshua in First Chronicles chapter 7, verse 27, he was called as son of Nun, an Ephraimite. He first appears as Moses' commander in the battle with Amalekites in Exodus chapter 19. In Exodus chapter 19, at that time he is introduced as the commander in chief, while the Israelites were fighting against the Amalekites, and he was formally trained as a warrior. So that's where we see about that's the introduction that we see about Joshua in chapter 17 of Exodus, verse 8 to 16. So what we see here in chapter 17 from verse 8, then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Revedim. So Moses said to Joshua, choose for us men and go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses told him and fought with Amalek, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the mountain of the hill. Whenever Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed, and whenever he lowered his hand, Amalek prevailed. So this is where, for the first time, we are introduced to Joshua. Joshua, maybe Moses was saying, "Look, I just want to see what you can do in this with these Amalekites." So he goes to war, and God gives them victory. Then later we are introduced to Joshua in Exodus chapter 24, verse 13, and chapter 32, verse 17. In these two places, his career started as an assistant to Moses. An assistant to Moses. He was assisting Moses. When we read those passages in Exodus chapter 24, verse 13, it says, so Moses rose with his assistant Joshua. In Exodus, we are introduced to him as a commander in chief. Now he is an assistant, and Moses went up into the mountain of God. Then again in chapter 32, verse 17 of Exodus, we are introduced to him as Moses' assistant. So what we see is that wherever Moses was going, he was going with Joshua. So Joshua is in close relationship with the man of God, and he was following him, going everywhere. At one point of time, in Exodus chapter 33, verse 17, there is this interesting note that is made about Joshua here. Exodus chapter 33, verse 11, it says, "Thus the Lord used to speak to Moses face to face as a man speaks to his friend. When Moses returned again into the camp," look at this, "his assistant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, would not depart from the tent." Means as Moses was speaking to the Lord in the tent, no matter how long that might take, Joshua would wait at the tent and he would not depart. That's when the writer is writing and stops there to make a specific note about a person, you need to understand that he used the ink to talk about something important about this person. There it says, he felt it Joshua's responsibility to guard Moses' prestige as well as his tent. That's what Joshua was doing. He would not depart from the tent. The next thing that we see is that Moses sent people to check out the land of Canaan. Moses chose Joshua on another occasion, and he sent 12 men to spy out the promised land. But only Joshua and Caleb, only these two people came with a positive response. They had these eyes of faith. They could see, oh, this is the land that God is going to give us. Amazing. So for them, in front of, they would look at the land that God promised, and for them, God's promise is greater than no matter whoever people are in that land. They were huge. There were big people living in that land, but it didn't matter to them. For Joshua and Caleb, there were nobody, nothing. They had eyes of faith, but others were scared. So the excursion was invaluable training for a future leader. He would yet have to cross the Jordan. He would need to size up the foe. Joshua saw the same Canaanite giants, the same high walls, the same giant sons of Anak, as did the other spies. Now here you see those 10 other people, whatever they have seen, that's the same thing even Joshua saw and Caleb saw. But they responded differently than the other 10 people. Others saw a defined foe, that is, they are going to defeat us. But these people, Joshua and Caleb, they saw that they are going to become our meal. Joshua saw a defeated foe, not a giant over there. That's the eyes of faith. Moses was satisfied with Joshua. Moses was content. And Joshua would be worthy here. And I think that's what motivated Moses to give the reins and responsibilities to Joshua than anybody else. So Joshua was prepared by devotion. He was devoted first to the Lord and then to the prophet of the Lord. And he was disciplined, and also he was prepared by his duty. So Joshua was prepared by his background to become Moses' successor. He was prepared by devotion. He wouldn't leave Moses or the tent So he would remain over there by his commitment to Moses and all that Moses stood for among God's people. He was prepared by executing discipline. Discipline as in he would fight with the Amalekites and win upon them. And he was prepared by duty, by carrying out assignments with spiritual insight and courage, no matter how difficult or dangerous that were. That is, spying out the land. Go and spy the land. He would go and spy the land and come with the godly report, not a defeated report, not an unbelieving report. So he was already prepared. Joshua was being prepared all through this journey. And Joshua's trust in God's word. When we look at Joshua chapter 1, verse 8, it says, this is what he says: this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. So this is what the Lord commands Joshua, and this is what God commanded even Moses. What for Moses, the word of the Lord was so important, and that's the same command is given to Joshua by the Lord. As a young leader, he must be wondering how I am going to take these people into the land of Canaan, how I am going to have success at all. How will I do this? So God has a word for him. You will succeed, but for your success, this is what he says. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous. And this is the key, Joshua. This is the key. This is what is going to make your way prosperous. This is how you are going to succeed. And then you will have good success. Those are the thoughts for a young leader. Now Moses is not there. Suddenly all of this responsibility is over me. How I'm going to succeed, how I'm going to do this. And God has a word, the word of God. Look into it, read, meditate day and night. Now, don't go left or right. You're going to go straight. And that's where the success lies. So Joshua turned to the word of God for answers. This magnificent challenge from God came to his soul. That's where he started trusting the Lord. Then what happens is that when they crossed Jordan, in Joshua chapter 5, verse 2-9, it says, and at that time the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the sons of Israel a second time. So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the sons of Israel at the Gibeah, and this is the reason why Joshua circumcised them, all the males. So what we read 2-9, chapter 5, verse 2-9, what happens here is that before they could go and defeat the people, their enemies, Joshua made sure that all the males are circumcised. Why was circumcision given in the first place was that every person who should be identified with the promise of Abraham should be circumcised, because that's a sign given to Abraham, the sign of circumcision. So he made sure that all these people are separated for the Lord and within the covenant of the Lord. So that's what Joshua did. This is where and then from there, as soon as people arrived in the promised land, Joshua built a memorial, not only circumcision, uh, but he built a memorial with 12 other stones taken from the riverbed. From then on, that memorial bore testimony to God's people that they had crossed Jordan. So what Joshua was saying is, we died to the life of Egypt. Crossing Jordan is like a new life. Crossing Jordan is like a new life, saying we are dead to Egypt. Now this is the memorial. This is our new life. The older generation told the new, this is where we began our new life, on the victory side of the death. So Jordan spells death. To all we are by nature, new life is ours. So then in their new life, circumcision was made. These people were separated. That is sanctification. Here is where we see people are separated for the Lord, and you need to be identified with Abrahamic covenant. And that's what we see even in Abraham's life. Sipporah, she takes a sharp stone and circumcises the sons of his Moses. So before they could draw the sword on their foes, they had to draw the knife on themselves. That's interesting, isn't it? Then in chapter 5, verse 13 to 15, we read, when Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, are you for us or for our adversaries? Who are you for? So now this is what Joshua was saying. He looked at the huge wall. He saw the wall, and then there is a man here. He was standing. And he said, no, but I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him, what does my Lord say to his servant? And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy. And Joshua did so. Now, this is an amazing vision, or in reality, there is a man standing. And then when he looked at the giant walls of Jericho, he must have thought that, how at all I'm going to fight this war? How at all I'm going to bring these walls down, or capture this city? How am I going to do it? If you remember, he was the captain of Lord's army. Oh, 1 second. Oh, 1 second. Oh. Okay. So there, the vision of the Lord is that he says, the man says, look at this. Joshua, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you for us or for our adversaries?" And he said, "No." In a way, saying neither. I am the commander of the law of the army of the Lord. Now I have come. So in a way, Joshua was asking, whose side are you? So Joshua instantly recognized when that person said, "No, but I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come." What does this mean? What does this mean? This means that Joshua, it's not you who's going to fight the battle. I have come to fight, and I am the commander of the Lord's army. Isn't it amazing that when he was looking at the city walls and everything, he might have had these questions, but then Lord is telling him that it's not your battle, it's my battle. And the Lord sent his commander over there. And many theologians say that this was Christ over there. Now, or some people would just say this is the angel of the Lord or Michael. But the point is here, the Lord is saying, now why do they say Christ? Is because Joshua went on his knees and worshipped. So no angel would receive the worship except the Lord. So even while the one who spoke to Moses in the bush was the Lord, and the one while destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, one of them was the Lord Jesus Christ, and one of the one who ate the meal in the house of at the place of Abraham was Jesus, because this particular person was addressed as Lord, and that person received worship. So this is Christ in the Old Testament. But anyway, we are not looking at the Christological issues, Christological aspect in the Old Testament. But here you see, and Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him. That's why this is the Old Testament appearance of Christ. So in a way, the Lord is telling Joshua that this is not your battle, this is my battle. I'm going to fight. And now we move to the conquest. You know, we all have heard this in many messages, in even in Hebrews chapter 11 verse 30. They won by faith. You know, they need not wage war. They just obeyed. What we see in the conquest of Jericho is obedience, discipline, and patience. Obedience, they just obeyed what the Lord said. And discipline, they would go around the city wall, and then patience, they didn't hurry up. And that's what gave them the victory, the faith. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 30. But then the next scene is that when they came to Ai, we call that place, there was sin of covetousness in the army, in among the people. So Moses, without inquiring the Lord, without seeking the Lord in prayer, there was presumption, prayerlessness, and sin of covetousness in among the people. So they faced a defeat. When they were defeated, Joshua again goes back in prayer, and the Lord tells him the reason why they were defeated. But then when those men were removed out of the camp and those people were killed, God gave them victory. But then there was another time Joshua was deceived by Gibeon, deceived by the people, the Gibeonites. They came and made a treaty and made them without inquiring who these people are, why they came, without any proper inquiry. Joshua made a treaty with them. He promised them that he won't destroy. But then later they got to know that they made a cunning entry into their country, and they promised that they wouldn't destroy. But this was not in the plan of God. They shouldn't have done it. Again, we see a deception over here. Joshua shouldn't have done that. But in the end, what the testimony we see about Joshua is that Joshua chapter 11, verse 15 to 20, what we see is what the Lord commanded Moses, his servant. Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua carried it out without deviating in any respect from all that the Lord commanded Moses. Joshua took the whole land in accordance with all that the Lord has said to Moses. That's what we see in Joshua 11, verse 15 to 20. So, final challenge before Joshua could depart from the scene. Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. He challenges the people of Israel. Chapter 24, verse 15, he challenges them and says, and you see from verse 14, now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods that your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your fathers served in region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Towards the end, Joshua challenges the people of Israel. Choose what do you want. But for me, I have already made that choice that me and my house will serve the Lord. But for you, you decide what do you want. So this is where we see Joshua's life following the Lord. Except those 2 points, the negative points in the life of Moses, rest all, he did all that was commanded to Moses, and he saw to it that he executed everything. So we will stop here, and next week we'll look at another great life. God bless you, everyone. I'll send the notes on the group, maybe tomorrow. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.